See if anyone can find me here. YouTube is so stupid. I clicked go live. It doesn't seem to understand what go live means. So let's see if anyone can find me here. You want to try and find me, little one?
Yep.
It looks like I got 4 people now. I clicked go live and it went somewhere else.
I am going to YouTube right now.
That's okay. I'm getting some people now. Hey, Wolfman. Hey, David. Sound is okay, I presume? Yeah. Well, it's YouTube, so you just know, 50-50 chance we'll have to look around here. Yeah, I clicked the little blue go live button.
Yeah, all I'm seeing
and
is
it went
streamed 5 minutes ago that says set reminder.
Yeah. And it wasn't. Hey, Keith, how's it going? Sounds like a scratched LP. Shouldn't it? Should be the high definition audio device. How's everyone else? What's the sound like to everyone except Chris? Let's see if it's his or is it mine. Sound is fine. Okay, must be you, Chris. All righty then. Oh my God. So anyhow, a little bit different tonight. Jim is not here because he has relatives visiting. I just had cataract surgery on this eye today. I presume I'll be able to make it through okay, but I'm able to see okay. I'm getting the stuff pretty good here. I'm able to read it without the glasses, which is actually better than usual, although why, I have no idea.
You are live on my phone, which I turned you off.
Yeah. So. Oh, you don't turn me off. You turn me on. But anyhow.
Do I spin you right round?
Round, yeah. Anyhow. So, got a bunch of stuff to talk about today on Montana B and some of the lessons we've learned there.
It's snowing.
Right now, if you noticed, I was in a t-shirt Friday at Montana B, and right now it says 24 degrees and cloudy, and I don't know if it's still snowing. No, it's not snowing.
Drat, it stopped.
Yep.
Bummer.
David says, hello, Eva.
Hi, David. Hi, everybody.
So anyhow, we got that one in just in time. I also found a more efficient way of getting material off the mountain. Now, obviously, with the high line, it works really, really well. Chris says hi. David Villa says hi. Everybody's saying hi. It should be posted on a previous video, and at the end of the thing, although I may have to go back and edit it because somewhere there's a toggle that I found one time. Turn on, allow the comments to stay there versus not. Don't ask me why they bother with that. And the default is no. One would think the default would be yes. But what the heck? You can always just ask in specific tricky and we'll get it this time. But yeah, the comments, somewhere there's a switch on one screen somewhere that's not readily apparent that you can show comments for live chat or not. And say it's a toggle somewhere under the millions of screens that I can't access right now. I can only shut it down, go into it later, try and re-edit and find out. Yep. It's just really, really annoying. Really annoying. First of all, let me turn it to all chats. Let's see, what's this go? participant. No, that's not it. So anyhow, let's say we were up there, and with Eva, she's got physical limitations. Hi, Adam. And so sending a relatively full bucket of ore down the high line to her is she can't get it back off again. So we'd send down fractional buckets and she'd combine them. It's quite time consuming. So this time what I thought I'd do is we had some empty buckets up there that we left last time. And so I have to carry a bunch of tools up to get started anyway. So the first thing I did was got some of the empty buckets. And then before I walk down the path to the road, I'd get, 2 half buckets of ore from the coarse ore stockpile that we have up there and set them by the road. And that was surprisingly efficient at improving the productivity for one person, So whenever you're walking up and down like that, always make sure you're carrying something if you can. The second morning, the second day we were out there, the morning of that, by the time Eva got up and Adam out of bed, I had 24 buckets sitting on the trailer. So it worked very, very well compared to the previous methodology. So just make sure your hands are always full, whatever way you're going on a path like that. Yeah, it's BLM land. You know how they are with bulldozers. Say that I think it's 40 feet vertically from the dozer road. But it's a fairly steep footpath to get up there. And definitely the high line's a lot easier to get it down, but you have to have 2 people or else you got to walk all the way down to the bottom and unhook it yourself and then walk all the way up. So if you're going to do that, then you send one down the high line and you carry another one split in 2 down the path, set them by the road, unhook the one on the high line, go back up. That doubles your productivity. So, that's pretty good increase. But considering you have to carry a bunch of tools up the Hilti, the baby Hilti, the battery powered tools and all that other stuff, I usually get about a half a dozen trips up the hill before I even get started. So that gives me 6 buckets sitting by the road by the time I even get started. Worked out great. Another couple things. The ladder track itself seems to be working pretty well. That would be really more like a trained rock. But the ladder track seems to work fine. However, I've decided that I don't want any segments more than 6 feet high, for the simple reason I can be standing on a platform and make the connections without actually being in the air. Wolfman got really excited. He saw you. Yes. And so the new plan, I was doing it with a maximum of 10-foot section. And now I'm going to go, in the future, I'll only make 6 foot. I'll make 2-foot sections, 6-foot sections. So as you go down, as soon as you get 2 feet, which is something you can pick a bucket to the carriage, which is still on the track that's existing, you can pick bucket up 2 feet pretty comfortably. And once you've dug 2 feet down, then you can put another 2-foot section on and keep advancing. Once you've got 6 feet, then you pull all the 3 2-foot sections off, put a 6-foot on, and continue on from there. And so let's say that works, seems to be a better idea. By the way, I have show and tell today. I've got some samples to show you. This, with the cataract surgery in this eye, and then a week from now, cataract surgery in the other eye. Hi, Mr. Virtue. I'm supposed to take it easy. The weather seems to be turning all wintry and stuff. So we probably won't be going back out to the mine this season. So it'll be a lot more laboratory stuff and small scale things. Tomorrow, I intend to try a drill test. Now, I got a chunk of kryptonite about like that. It's about all I can carry in one piece. Is that no? Okay, no. Yeah, for you, that'd be nothing, Jason. Black sand will tend to deposit with gold if there is gold. There's almost always some black sand, but then you have to have gold in the surrounding drainage too. And if you don't, it can't deposit with the black sand because it's just not there. But as a general rule, if you're getting good black sand and there's relatively modest sized gold in the river, you're going to find it with the black sand. Now, if it's really big chunky gold and no fine gold, it may be somewhat different, but that rarely happens. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that, David. Although we got 29, that's a pretty good group right now. Hey, Jason, how's it going? Mr. Eye pen and ice water without gloves person. Man, he's tough.
Who's here?
Jason from Flower Gold Wizards.
Hi, Mr. Wizard. Tell Mrs. Wizard I said hi.
Did you hear that, Jason? Yeah, well, tell YouTube to quit making life complicated, and I'll be happy to do it. He says life's going good. So anyhow, that's the answer to that question. Yeah, PBR thins the blood. Yeah, it could be. The other thing that we've kind of decided just from as we're mining this, those ribs, the walls basically, don't give me a lot of confidence that they're not just going to crumble over time. And the problem is, as time goes on, they're going to get harder and harder to get to. Okay. So I'm trying to do this because without Jim here, I don't have the markers. This is basically the decline that we have. And this is about how much we've taken out so far. And you can see as we go deeper, we're going to get more and more and more material because we changed this angle from about 55 to 65 degrees. So now that we're out of the timbering here, we need to put something to protect us from falling rock as we progress. If this is the current surface, if we were to put platforms up here to catch the rock from the back, okay, this is looking kind of down the decline. It's got an arch top to it, which is appropriate for this material. By building platforms across here, a short distance below that, we can catch anything besides a gigantic rock fall on that. The idea is to start at an appropriate elevation, put a couple of pins into the rock and hang chain link from it, and then put stoles below that, wedged and then pinned into the rock. That'll also help grab that chain link. But the platform will collect any slough that comes off of this. Then the chain link can be pinned and extended as you go down. I don't know if all of you know that, but you can thread on more chain link and extend it to any length that you need. And yeah, we got a source for some used stuff that got, taken down and still in good condition though. So anyhow, that's kind of the idea. So as we keep mining, you can take a ladder, lean it up against the back there. Of course, obviously be on a rope while you're at it, just in case. Go up and put chain link, stoles, things like that in place fairly easily. But once you've mined it down to here, trying to do anything up there is going to be extremely difficult and challenging. By doing this as you go down, you will have overhead protection and stuff that keeps small rocks from busting off of the rib. You can see if something just came off the rib here and you were down here, it's going to fall like 30 feet before it gets to you. That's going to hurt. So, we're going to need some more artificial ground control as opposed to natural. You know? And so that's the temporary plan. We'll get into more detailed planning this winter because we'll have plenty of time to plan, not much time to do. But those are two changes to the mining plan. Shorter sections of ladder track and putting in more active ground support. Because while the walls looked smooth and hard, if I can peel it off 4 inches thick with that little baby Hilti, it ain't solid enough. It's not trustworthy. It's not likely to collapse, but it doesn't take a very big rock falling 20 feet to do some serious damage. Yeah, it could kind of kill you. Absolutely. So anyhow, that's the basic change in plan there. And we've gotten some assays back, so we got a better idea of what we're actually looking at. And unfortunately, I can't, put a picture up here and show you a picture of the vein itself or the mineralized zone. But this is a classic chunk out of the Limanite area, the big brown stripe down the middle. Okay. You could use railroad ties for shoring, but the problem is the creosote is kind of toxic. If it ever catches fire, life's going to suck big time. But strength-wise, they would probably hold. I'd rather go with just straight lumber myself. But anyhow, this is basically the limonite vein, that 16, 18-inch wide brown material, It depends on how you're anchoring it, Kevin. That's one reason I want to put stoles in also. In the big mining companies, they'll usually use a jackleg drill and 4 to 6 foot rock bolts. And that... Take care, blind. Yeah, and Chris is right there. It can also be, kind of split in the middle. Now, I don't know if it'll show on the camera too well. Yeah, it does. This is also kind of red here. Now, we're not sure what that red is, but it seems to be associated with what looks like high-grade ore. So we're going to... Out at the ranch, we got a couple of tons now of the coarser material like this. And I'm already started hand sorting it into different types of rock. Now this would be reasonably porous with red, porous limonite with red. Not at the moment, Chris. It's not go back. It's not really hematization. I mean, this is limonite or goethite more correctly. This is oxidized iron pyrite, not hematite. Okay, and I'm not sure what the red is, whether it's ochre or whether it's cinnabar or whether it's something else. I don't know, Adam. The color's good for cinnabar. We didn't have much mercury in the previous couple of samples. We had multi-element, Hello, Eric. How's it going? If you have any questions, just ask. So this is kind of typical of the limonite zone. Here's another one. You can see it tends to be kind of porous. The claim owner likes to call it fluffy rock. But this is a little denser. Some of it's actually quite light. And then you also get gradations where in that, yeah, it's some kind of oxide, Jean. And in that limonite region, you also tend to get these high silica zones. And this kind of exemplifies here. You can see the silica in here, the quartz. And you almost get like little quartz veinlets. Sometimes you actually get quartz veinlets like that. And let's see, where was that one? I just had one. There we go. And this is basically mainly quartz. And it looks brown. It's heavily mineralized, but this is some of that kryptonite material. Very, very tough. And hey, Cherokee, how's it going? And this, you can tell by the weight, is much more dense. And you also tend to see more of the red coloration. As I was answering, I noticed the parts where you get both the quartz, or lots of quartz, and the limonite together, you tend to see the reds. This is twice the weight of this or more, 2 or 3 times. This is really dense compared to this. And then you get these that aren't quite fluffy, but this is also the kryptonite, hard quartz. And hello, Giancarlo. Any questions, just ask. So this is the hard material, and you can see being only this thick, and this is actually a little piece of a veinlet. As I was digging out the limonite, this, it's kind of sticking there, able to bust it off pretty easy. But this is that high quartz material. Yeah, if it's cinnabar, we know this has some arsenic in it too. We assume it is somewhat toxic. We also have another type of material. See, this also is very vesicular. It's got holes in it, but it's more black.
Water and which ones don't.
And again, I'm hand sorting a variety of materials there. When I have like a bucket of each, I'll crush them up, split them down, send them off for assay, and we'll see what the gold tends to be associated with, if anything. These all might be good. However, I can tell you this. This is more of that black wall rock. The assay came back on this less than 1/10 of an ounce. Okay? Not very good. Okay? Not sure, Adam. And let's see, do I have another one? I think that's the only one of the wall rock. But also that black zone, about this wide, to the left side of the big limonite vein. That's it was running over 1/10 of an ounce, but not nearly as good as the limonite or the kryptonite. And so far, the ore zone is running better than a half an ounce to the ton, right around a half an ounce to the ton. But some of the other stuff runs better. We're trying to figure out exactly what to do in terms of visual identification to see. Yeah, Chris, we're just throwing it in the dump outside, which runs better than that. So we're just putting it in the dump, and so we can always come back later. A good question is also what the basic mass of the mountain is. It may be heap leach grade. I don't know, but as I say, these are things. It'd be fun to find out. But as I told Chris earlier, at $45 a number, you got to be kind of selective of what numbers you get. I mean, I could go out there and collect 50 samples in a day and spend, yeah, what would that be? A couple $1,000 easily, you know? So I don't know. The bulk sampling I'm doing, that's an excellent question, Adam. I don't have a good magnet handy, but thanks for bringing that up. But the bulk samples of the ore zone are pretty statistically significant because, again, I'm doing like 500-pound samples. I'll crush up 15 buckets of rock and stockpile it, and then go from there. And it's been running fairly consistent. Last one was a little bit less than the previous, but it may just be to some dilution. And also the bigger rocks of the kryptonite are just being left at the mine for now because my crusher can't handle them. And so that's, I mean, it's a reasonable grade. It's nothing really great. Hey, blind dude. But the chip samples I took lower down indicate the grade should improve. We're not likely to get much more done this season, but it was, we got a lot of samples. We have a Stutenroth 2-ton an hour mill at the ranch that we're going to try and get ready to run for next year. We also have a big jaw crusher out there. It's an old, big production crusher. I'm thinking about a 10 by 16, a 12 by 16, something like that. And no, that's why when you're just mining the ore zone and just taking 15 buckets in a row and crushing them up, that's not cherry picking. You are trying to, we were trying to decide, should we include the wall rock or just throw that on the dump? Now we know, just throw it on the dump. Yes, still in Montana. Going to stay here all winter.
Going to stay here forever. Arizona sucks rocks.
Well, 1/10 of an ounce you'd have trouble with unless you had a lot of tonnage and the permits and some capital to put together a good mill. If you got a mountain 1/10 of an ounce, a big mining company will be happy to pay you big money for it. Trust me. That's some pretty good ore. That's really good ore for open pitting. That's decent ore for underground if you got a lot of tonnage. Yep. And so the my basic rule of thumb is you need a half an ounce to the ton, 2 feet wide, or 1 ounce to the ton, 1 foot wide to underground mine it. Now, in this case, we got a little bit better mining situation in terms of we already have a tunnel, a decline ahead of us. We're just taking bottom, which is about the easiest thing to mine. We will have a little bit of ground support to put in, so that's going to cost some money and take some time, but it's not too bad. Oh yeah, well, let's say it's kind of hard to tell. This eye was always really blurry, and if you notice, it doesn't track the other one. But I think a lot of that blurry was a cataract that's been removed. And so now they may be able, once it heals up a little bit, to provide a corrective lens that'll actually work pretty well. I don't know. But as I say, we have that Stutenroth 2-ton per hour mill that we need to see about running. We also have a big jaw crusher. One of the reasons I wanted to get a lot of samples before the snow closed in was because you can't test crushers without something to crush. And so I've got about roughly 2 tons of finer ore that I crushed through the RC46 and stockpiled. And then I've got roughly 2 tons of coarse ore, something, this big and larger, all the way up to chunks. And I'm going to be going to Butte this winter to see what kind of records they have. I'm not sure, Tricky. Is it 1? But anyhow. Yeah, but the access is, the road itself has certain legal restrictions due to environmental things. It closed. There's a lot of roads around here, especially in the high country, that close around December 15th and don't reopen till May 15th. And that's the problem, is the access. Quite frankly, being out there when it's 10 or 20 degrees, it's kind of unpleasant too. We got a lot of work to do here. We also are looking at what's up good value for the volume of ore per ton. Generally, unless it's really difficult ore like a refractory sulfide, and even then you might be able to concentrate it and sell the concentrates. My rule of thumb is a 1/2 ounce to the ton, at least 2 feet wide, or 1 ounce to the ton, 1 foot wide is kind of the rule of thumb minimum. If you don't have that, it's likely to be marginal or lose money. Yeah, but it's really expensive to heat up the quartz. That's the thing. And when you're trying to do tons per hour, that's a difficult situation. So I say it's a big beast of a jaw crusher, and we'll see about getting it powered. The crusher itself works fine. It just needs a power. I don't do placer that much. A lot of people who do placer like that blue clay, but I have no idea. I do hard rock, super fine gold. No, Adam, I'm not. The different crystal arrangements, I presume. I suspect that big giant crusher will do it. I don't know. I say we will find out. We're planning. We do have an old piece of farm equipment that has a functioning engine and working hydraulic pumps, and we're thinking of putting a hydraulic motor to drive the big crusher, and then we can use hydraulic motors on other stuff and a hydraulic driven generator to run pumps and things like that. In terms of what is good ore versus the other, generally, how inexpensively can you obtain it? I.e., how easy is it to mine, and how easy is it to extract? This is where they can make money on placer at $12 a ton, whereas just my chemical costs are $20 a ton. And that doesn't get to mining, haulage, crushing, or anything else. So, but when you're dealing with hard rock, the complexity of the ore is important. You have huge varieties in the gold particle sizes. How is it contained or encapsulated in the rock? What other minerals are associated with it? And so you can have extremely difficult ores to work, which are called refractory ores, or you can have some that are very simple. Just crush it, gravity separate it, and boom, there's the gold. And so that's the deal. What we're working on here with Montana B, it's very fine gold, less than 7 microns. It dissolves very easily, but it won't gravity separate worth a crap. So yeah, for 4,000, if it's in good shape, sounds like a deal, Patrick. You need to put it on a trailer to move it around, though. But because of that, we have to leach this ore, and that adds some complexity to it. We were hoping we could do a gravity separation, but that just didn't even come close to working. Then when we had it carefully analyzed at Montana Tech, they used an electron microscope. Once we found out the size of the gold particles, like, that's why. You know, the stuff's like 80% passing 2,000 mesh, you know? Yeah, exactly, Tricky. It can get complicated in hard rock. Placer is in general much more straightforward. There's less variables involved in placer, which makes it simpler and generally less expensive. And a lot of times easier to permit also. But you don't often get, 1 ounce to the ton in placer. People would love to. No, blind dude, you cannot. On a black background, you can see an individual gold particle at about 500 mesh with a 10 power loop. Okay. And that's basically about 30, 35 microns. By the time you get down to 7 microns, it's pretty much invisible. Yes, Chris, less variables. Absolutely. And you know it. You don't find placer 2 miles under the earth, for example, especially 2 miles underneath flooded karst limestone. Yeah. So anyhow, I'll be willing to bet, Chris, that as a whole, there's more variables with hard rock than with placer. Yep. Because, let's say, do you ever have placer that's basically crystal locked? Do you ever go more than a mile deep to get it? Things like that. It gets pretty I know placer can get a little complicated too, but nothing like hard rock can. So what's the deepest gold mine in the world? West Refractory, I believe, at about 16,000 feet deep. And it almost got flooded out one time when a little crack opened about 1 inch wide, 10 feet long, dumping, what was it? 30,000 gallons a day or something like that of water in there. Insane. Just that water pouring into the shaft was creating 100-mile-an-hour winds. I don't think I've ever heard of anything like that in the placer mine. But anyhow, so that's basically what we're doing. Yep. Well, and tricky. The thing is, you can't even do that in a single hoist. That takes 3 shafts because by the time you hang a mile of cable, it'll snap the cable. So you have to do it with the best cables and everything. You can only go about 6,000 feet in a single hoist. So they have to dig a shaft 6,000 feet deep from surface, move sideways, dig another shaft 6,000 feet deep, move sideways, dig another shaft 6,000 feet deep. Yep. And that is a lot of work. But also, I say in South Africa, a lot of these mines are under basically cavernous limestone that's completely filled with water. So you got to put a shaft through a sponge. And to do that, they have to inject concrete 500 feet in all directions from where they're going to put the shaft, let it harden, and then dig the shaft through the concrete. So anyhow, the that's what we're doing with Montana B. And what we've learned, what we plan on doing there, what we're planning on doing in terms of milling, we'd like to get set up so we can run, at least a ton an hour. Now, the jaw crusher is not a problem. The potential problems with the Stutenroth, it's rated at 2 tons an hour, but that's not classified. So we'll have to run our stuff through it, classify it, see what the ratios are and what we need to grind it to get it to leach effectively. And that it's going to take a lot of tests. I say I got lots to do this winter. But other things that I'm going to be doing, we real soon here, we're going to be trying different ways of getting the gold out of the resin. The resin did a fine job of capturing the gold, but loaded resin isn't very saleable. So we need to turn it into an actual doré gold. And we'll be working on that over the next few weeks. Hopefully we'll have an answer pretty quickly. Tricky Dicky came up with another possibility tonight, and we'll try that out too. If solution 1 doesn't work real easily, then we'll try solution. We might try solution 2 anyway. That seemed pretty simple and inexpensive. So we shall see how that works. I have some research to do in terms of trying to go to the Bureau of Mines and see if I can find any historical data on this. We don't know for sure what they were doing. We're just guessing. We have no historical data whatsoever. We have a name. That's all. Okay. We don't seem to be seeing a lot of kryptonite, and there's quite a bit of it in that zone. So they may have been hand sorting that out and shipping that. We also don't seem to be seeing near the ratio of the limonite as what they had to have mined out of that. So the question is, what were they doing with it once they got it? They weren't doing anything directly on site. I can tell you, there's no sign of a mill anywhere near there. This gold is too small for amalgamation. It would pretty much have to be leached. And the solution as insolvent. Got good words there, Jeff. That's nice. But anyhow, whether they were shipping it relatively close or shipping it to a smelter, if they were shipping it to a smelter, for example, you've got 2 different things they could be doing. Number one, if you have this high silica material here, you could be selling that to a smelter basically as flux. They need the silica as flux and get a credit for the entrained gold and silver. And that might be it used to be very common over in southern Arizona when we had smelters. They were always looking for silica. And so that was a standard way for small miners to do it. You didn't have to process it at all. Just mine it, put it in a truck, haul it to the smelter, and sell it to them. It was sweet till they got rid of all the smelters. So that might have been what they were doing. Yeah, it would, Lars. And it's also very relatively dangerous and creates a huge amount of waste you have to dispose of. But yeah. But anyhow, so that might have been a preferred ore. The limonite type ores might be something they hauled to a cyanide mill somewhere. Okay. And we don't know. It could be very helpful to know that. So I'm going to spend that time researching it. Yeah, I say there's the chloride. There's all kinds of things, but I have no idea what they were doing because I have no records. So it's worth a while to spend a day over in Butte and see what I can come up with. And I got that. I mean, I got quite a list of stuff here to do. List. Oh, and Chris and I are going to be working on a quick field test for gold, especially out of solution. Courage, we have no idea. That's part of the problem. Looking at the current access road, I'm saying that was done with a bulldozer, probably a cable blade bulldozer, which puts it, after 1911 and before 1950. But that's all I can tell. Aside from that, I don't know. But we want to check and see if we can come up with an inexpensive, rapid field test for gold that's at least reasonably quantitative. Is that a lot? Is that a little? Whatever. It would come in handy, especially at the mill. Bottle test other resins. We have at least 2 more resins here that were sent to me, free samples that we need to check and see how they work with relationship to the one we're currently using. Simple test. I need to check the effectiveness of intermittent agitation. If you have power restrictions or something like that, you have, agitation is obviously a lot better than no agitation in terms of how fast you're going to dissolve the gold. But if you agitate it for 10 minutes, let it set for an hour, agitate for 10 minutes, let it set for an hour, is that anywhere near as good as running at continuous agitation? Again, something easy I can do on a bottle roll. I want to take these magnetics that I was getting up to Butte, see if they can figure out what they are. Test zinc precipitation more for curiosity than anything at this point, although I still owe Tricky Dicky a result on that. Some various paperwork issues. And we have an invite to the Liberty Gold Mine, which we may take advantage of sometime this winter. That would be kind of cool. And then a lot of detailed planning and testing on the, like ground control for the mine and grinding and crushing and agitation. I'm going to go with a conical bottom tank, Quicksilver will not work on this at all. The gold is way too fine to actually stick to it, believe it or not. And, why did I know you knew him, Chris? um, Mercury requires a certain particle size to work, and this is smaller than that. Plus, there's really no place in the United States where it's legal to use it. And it is a cumulative toxin and such. So if there's an easy way to get around it, then you might as well use it. Possibly Kodak or John, don't know. But just one reason we're kind of prefer not to use air agitation if possible is you introduce a lot of oxygen into your chemistry that may or may not be useful. So, um, just a simple pump will do the job without that. You can make a Pachuca tank, look it up, which uses air. Basically, have like an airlift dredge in the middle of the tank. If you need or want oxygen, like cyanide really likes oxygen. So Pachuca tanks work fine for that because they introduce a lot of oxygen. You keep 100% oxygenation in your solution. I don't know, Jeff. Again, these are the sort of things to test. If you have plenty of power, it's not a problem to just keep it running permanently. But if not, the what do you call it? The intermittent will save you a lot of power if you're running on like solar, or you have a generator that you then shut down and run off of batteries for a while. Yep, there's a minimum size for mercury. Absolutely. Thank you, Rob. Yeah, we'd like to come there. Got some repair and maintenance on me to get done first. Got a few tweaks I want to do to the minor Bago. I think I need a carburetor rebuild. Not sure. But yeah, John, chemistry keeps getting in the way. Yeah, we'd love to come by, and we may very well do it this winter. I got a lot of stuff to do, and we may actually be building a mill, which is going to take a bit of fabrication. This could be interesting in cold weather. Yep. Yep. So, got lots to do. And yes, I do, David. This is fun. I'm enjoying this a lot. I also like getting out there and just digging through rock. And Eva likes being out there in the field. And with all the trash wood we're trying to get cleaned up, and there's just not any wood that's just laying around there, but the stuff that's not usable for anything. The kind of stuff you can take a 1x12 and just stomp it with your foot and it just splinters. So Eva's been having fun burning all that up and getting that cleaned up. So we've been having a good time. It's not that fun having to stop for the season just when things are going smooth. But it's it's winter. You can't argue with it. So I say we'll work on the repair and maintenance and design and research and this and that and the other. Yeah, I believe it, Pokerface. It can be done. It ain't much fun. And there's certain things you can't do. For example, I cannot run the mill below freezing. Just not. I think a week ago, well, like last Tuesday, when I was out at the ranch crushing ore and stuff, it was above freezing, and I was just pumping through the resin columns I had out there the whole time. Just running, just to get what I could. Okay, Kodak. As I say, I'm not sure. what is going on? It feels like a plugged port or an orifice somewhere, you know. And we'll see. I may just buy a rebuilt carburetor. I'm not sure. We get assays typically back in a week from when we send stuff out. Right now, we have nothing out. How much was left in the Prague pond? Oh, 400 or 500 gallons, but most of it was barren solution. So I was able to run the pregnant in a recirculation loop when it was at about 100 gallons, 150 gallons for a couple hours. But then I had to dump the barren tank before it froze up. And so that's what I was running the other time. That's pretty good, Rob. That's some good advance. So I say I just getting what I can. But yeah, it's too cold to run it. So the important thing is drain everything. And I should have roughly 2 ounces in resin. I've got about, I got 350 grams roughly at, somewhere around 30 grams per pound. And, go from there. But we have plenty to test, which was the critical thing. At this stage, we're testing procedures more than trying to make money. We're trying to determine whether or not the procedure can be profitable. And the things that aren't working smoothly, we need to, adapt, like ladder track. No, not 10-foot sections, 6-foot sections, Yeah, John, what's happening is when I replaced the head gasket, it was running really smooth at all RPMs, but it was the secondaries were kicking in a little early. Might have just had the kickdown cable adjusted differently. But now when it switches to third gear at like 1500 RPM, it runs really rough until it gets up over 2000 and smooths out. So I think there's a little plug in there somewhere. So it's running really lean at that RPM. Loose pack, Tricky. Definitely. That seemed to work better. And so I'd give it a loose pack instead of a tight pack. Yeah, that's a possibility too. I was thinking if you had 3 6-foot chunks out of a 20, then you have a 2. So 6 and 2 works pretty good. But my mind likes things in even tens. So I understand the 5-foot thing too. Nothing's been decided firmly at this point. Sweet, Rob. Very nice indeed. So anyhow, that's kind of what we're doing. Again, not much action right at the moment, just a lot of research. Say drill test tomorrow, resin tests later this week. Eva goes back to the doctor next Monday, which means we may not be doing the live stream. Depends what's the time. 3:15. Probably be late next week, folks, because it's a 2-hour drive from Missoula. Her appointment's at 3:15. We're probably not going to get back till 7 or so. Okay. Can't tell you for sure, but that's probably what's going to happen there. 6 grams, 100 mils. I measured my resin in grams. It's roughly in that range, because I'm thinking I probably have 400 mils, and about almost 30 grams, where it topped at about 29 grams, and it hit a wall. But that sounds about right. If you have it in grams per pound, I could tell you precisely, but so I weighed the resin and calculated the amount of gold that was absorbed. And so that's the basic plan for this winter. And of course, I'll be making videos, keeping everyone informed. Is there anything else? I don't think so. We got any questions, anybody? Yeah, I was wondering that myself, Chris. A 7-foot boulder, you usually want to reduce its size a little bit if you can. But I say that's basically what we're looking at doing here. Keep you entertained. Anyhow, Eva will be here in a half an hour to do the tinfoil hat report. She will update us on new rules from YouTube there, which may restrict our conversation a little bit on certain subjects. And I did see a thing on Kitco where somebody was predicting like 10,000 gold and 500 silver, which would change the economics calculations a lot. But then nowadays you have to factor the inflation factor in too to see how it comes out net. Well, here, let me show you how the resin is contained. There you go. Okay, so yes, how is the resin contained? This is the resin, and it's just these little teeny beads, and they're wet and very, very slippery. Okay, so you spill it on. I actually dropped the beaker I was scooping it with because it was so damn slippery. That really surprised me. Now these are the containers that we put it in. This is for a standard 10-inch filter housing. And put the resin in here. Put this on the top. Screw the cap. And then you just slip that into a standard 10-inch filter housing. Chris found these. They really, really work well. There is one negative to them. Let's see if I can get this out. Yep, did. In the lid, here's your lid. There is this disc that contains the resin held in by this plastic screen. Let's see if I can do this here. Like that. Now that fiber disc will get plugged up with fine silt and such. So you have to clean those on a regular basis. Watch when you see your flow rates dropping. Go ahead and just pull that out, clean it. Works just fine. Now, this is loaded resin. As you can see, the color has changed rather dramatically. That's what it looks like when it's wet. And this is loaded to the rate of about 29 grams per pound of gold per pound of resin. So pretty darn close to 1 ounce per pound. And these containers are very easy to use. The filter housings, and they were pretty inexpensive. I built the whole 4-filter assembly for like $200. That included the nipples to connect them, and I also drilled holes and glued little bleed-off valves so I can take samples between stages to see exactly what was going on. I highly recommend that because when something's happening, and it could be anywhere in 3 different places, I also found out that this resin grabs the gold so fast, we didn't need 4 housings, a 4-stage resin process. So I took the first one and put a particle filter in there to kind of clean up the solution a bit, and that helped. But it was more of a coarse particle filter, so I may try a fine particle filter and see how that works. But that system, Chris came up with it. It worked very, very well. We could run at about 100 gallons per hour through these filter housings and still get 90% recovery in stage 1, 90% plus recovery in stage 1 of 3-stage filters when the resin was relatively new. Even when it was pretty well loaded, it was still getting like 85% recovery in the first stage. This resin did pretty well. What's your water source? Just a well. Nothing special. If you had to have special water, it would probably, in some places it could be a real pain in the butt. But anyhow, I need to drain some of the water out of that too. But I'm going to take that and dry it and then do that. Yeah. I was really surprised how cheap the filter housings and stuff were. I mean, I'm thinking the filter houses were like $10, and this is like $7 or $8, something like that. It was not expensive at all. Now, if you go down to the hardware store and buy it from them, you're going to pay about 3 times as much, and you can't get these. But on the internet, you could. Chris was kind enough to look it up and send me the links to it. So all I had to do was, buy it. And Chris has been a great help in many ways. But yeah. I'm sure you could, Tricky. The problem with that is properly accounting for the moisture content, because if you dry the resin first, it can interfere with its uptake. So it comes with a moisture content, which I'm not sure what it is. I don't think it would really affect your results at all, because the water is just the medium. What actually does it is the Lixivent itself, the Eco Gold X and the lime to adjust the pH. And as long as you had a reasonably clean water that didn't have some kind of specific contamination in it that was bad, like, say, oil, I don't think it would make a heck of a lot of difference. The resin is cheaper if bought in bulk, certainly, although this stuff here was it was 5 pounds for $65, if I'm not mistaken. And 5 pounds, according to this, and I just noticed this the other day. Let's see if I can actually read it. It says, note, 5 pounds of resin is enough to refill a 2-inch by 10-inch inline refillable filter housing about 10 times, or a 2.5-inch by 10-inch refillable filter housing about 7 times. So actually, I don't know if those are 2 or 2.5. I know I got something here. I can tell real quickly. That's more of a 2.5, it looks like. Yep, that's a 2.5. So you get 7 of these out of 5 pounds. And that would be packed, which I don't recommend. Where's my calculator? I had a calculator somewhere. Oh, dearie. My calculator has escaped on me again. They need to make things chartreuse for people like me. That way, when things like this happen, they'd be easier to find. Anyhow, someone can do the math. But this is the Max Water 104133 strong base anion resin. And this is supposedly to take out nitrates and stuff. Okay. Is the resin recoverable for reuse? Theoretically, yes. The question is there a simple method of stripping and regenerating the resin for reuse? Or would it be simpler just to dry it, flux it, and smelt it? We're not sure at this point. Tricky Dicky found some interesting stuff that, if it works well, should be really cheap and safe. It doesn't use any nasty chemicals at all, and that would be a good thing. Hey, take care, Tricky. Thanks for all the help. I appreciate it. But anyhow, so that's what I'm doing. And let's say one of these will hold probably 20 grams of gold. Because if I had a calculator, I could do it. Where did that stupid thing go? It's just amazing. You set it down somewhere and it literally just evaporates. Wow. Well, here's a different calculator. I don't like using it. For some reason I forget, but I know I don't like using it. So 454 divided by 350. 454 divided by, oh, that's interesting. All clear. This is probably why I didn't like it. I may have to shoot this one or smash it. So 454 grams divide, 21.3. What the hell am I dividing? That's how I like to deal with stuff that just won't cooperate. I don't know what the operating system is. I don't know how you're supposed to input the data. But when 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, I don't care. I just have no desire for it. So anyhow, I tend to be very direct. Yeah. It's like, yeah, it just, we've been making calculators for many decades. 1 + 1 equals should give you 2. Nah, it wasn't easy. It was about a $10 calculator. I don't buy the expensive stuff. It might have been running RPN, whatever it is. I don't know. I don't do RPN, so it's useless to me. Thank you, Wolfman. As I say, I'm getting old. I see no reason to put up with crap that I don't need to. $12 calculator. I don't know where the one is that I just had earlier today. I'll run into it somewhere. I'm sure I had it in my hand, set it down somewhere. And but I can go down to Walmart and get another replacement for that. Oh, as a matter of fact, I should have another one here. Yeah, there we go. That's my field kit for drafting and such. Let's see, do we have any power? Okay, so 454 divided by 350 equals 1.29 Let's do it the other way. 350 divided by 454 times 29. Okay, 22 grams of resin per cartridge. 22 grams of gold per resin cartridge should be about max with this resin. You know? And let's say, so that, is a reasonable thing. I mean, if we're doing, let's say, 2 tons a day at 1 ounce per ton, then we can go with larger cartridges. They make these, much longer. Or you can just have more stages and just, move it forward like every 3 hours. Move your cartridges forward. But yeah, probably, Adam. But I mean, 22 grams of gold in that size container, yeah, that's pretty darn efficient. About $10 in resin or less. So yeah, it's a very efficient system of getting the gold out of solution. Then you still have to hey, Smoking, how's it going? Yeah, but Adam, you have to make incorrect answers they don't recognize as incorrect. If they recognize them as incorrect, it won't work. Yeah, you could do all kinds of things. And so you could have just a 10-stage system, and once a shift, you pull out the first 3 or 4 cartridges, advance everything up, at that cost, for $600, I could basically have a 12-stage system, and you just move the ones forward, or you could have 3 4-stage systems, whichever you work. The problem with having them in parallel is you need to make sure they're running at roughly the same throughputs. So you'd have to have a way of monitoring that easily. Yeah, it would be nice, Johnny, but especially in the leaching end, it takes a lot of area to do that, and we just don't have that. But we have a lot of things we got to get done before we're into full scale production. Anyhow, by full scale, I mean 1 or 2 tons a day. But I'm pleased that we got so much accomplished before winter that we should be able to finish the rest of it through winter. Yeah, I say you need to be able to monitor. I mean, like, when they're dumping into the tank, you need to be able to see the streams because it will change over time. And as I say, to me, I think we accomplished everything that needed to be accomplished, which is a relief. Say we got the decline going, got the timbering done, got enough advance that we have a good idea of what we can do and what needs to be done, what changes need to be made in the plan. And I've got enough resin to play with, and that's the last step in the extraction process. Another thing is I need to recover some of the tailings from the pad, rinse them, and then see how much gold is left in them too. I don't think it would out on the pad itself. In the in the circuit near freezing. It might definitely extend the season, Chris, but I don't think it's going to make it functional. And I mean, when it's 10 below zero and cloudy, it's not going to work too well. But especially if you had like a big pool cover instead of just a tarp over the pad itself. So as you're basically heating your solution, running warm solution through everything, that might extend your season by weeks. It's not a bad idea. And so it's worth thinking of. But to say at this point, I don't know. Yeah, exactly, Chris. So let's say there's lots of things, but man, we learned a lot this fall. That Eco Gold X, and I mean, I got to thank all of you too. The synergy, everyone throwing in ideas and this and that, got us going on this and that and the other, and all in all, it's been a collaborative arrangement, and it's fun. I'm just having a great old time, and I want to thank everybody for all the help. I agree, Chris. It can't hurt. Another thing that you could do is wrap a loop around the exhaust of the power generator. Say, for example, if we're crushing ore using hydraulics driven by a 6-cylinder diesel engine, well, it wouldn't hurt to run a loop of solution, around the exhaust pipe, just like they do with with dredges, and heat it that way. Yeah, I mean, there's a number of ways of doing it. One thing I always hate is waste. And, when you're burning diesel, like 70% of your energy is wasted. If you can recover that, sweet. We have a lot of thermal mass in that solution. So just a little bit of insulation, let's say like a tool cover, the bubble wrap type pool cover over it, that could, keep it pretty warm. Oh, absolutely, Johnny. Oh, and another thing, let me write it on my list. I forgot. I can't tell you guys exactly what this is, but we're going to work on a way of getting the gold out of the solution while it's still in the agitation tank, kind of like a carbon and leach or a resin and leach sort of system, but something that doesn't require the precise particle sizing and things like that. And that will drastically reduce that. And you're very right, Johnny. Any gold-bearing solution in the tailings is wasted gold, not just solution. It's not just water. It's not just the chemicals you're losing. It's gold. So if you can recover the gold into resin before it even leaves the agitation tank, you will reduce those losses dramatically. I don't think they're exothermic, Kodak, but just in general, chemical reactions go faster at higher temperatures. So when you're talking, freezing versus 70, 80 degrees Fahrenheit, you might have a substantial change in how fast it dissolves the gold. Whatever, Chris, but you need something big. Yeah, I say there's all kinds of things. Show and tell, Mr. Virtue. Anything you want me to show and tell specifically or later on? Because I'll definitely be doing stuff later on. And I also got a new drill bit from Aaron over at what do you call it? Sierra Blaster. It's a German brand. I forget what the name is. Heller, I think. Yeah, Heller. And it's got 3 tungsten carbides. It's supposed to be a very high quality bit, and we'll be testing it out too on that kryptonite. See how well it holds up. First, I'm going to take a used bit that I've resharpened. It's not a chalkboard, it's a whiteboard, and guess what? I don't have any whiteboard markers because Jim is not here tonight, and he usually brings them. So I'm going to get some of my own. But
you might want to write that on the list since you've said that more than once.
Okay, here's the list for tomorrow. Drill test, vodka, betadine, put away ladder, dry erase marker, dry resin, and dry borax. Oh, it is there, isn't it? Yes, I agree. That's a good idea. But anyhow, well, around here, John, we have a lot of sunlight at times, but also, I say, if you're running a gas or a heat engine, internal combustion engine, to provide the motive power for your crushing systems, then why not recover the waste heat from the exhaust? That's pretty easy to do. And if you put that out on that leach pad, and I like the 125 degrees, well, maybe a little bit lower than that so it can't actually burn you. It wouldn't be uncomfortable to be touching it. Then, but basically, nice and warm to the touch, which is probably about 100, maybe 105, but 125 can burn you. Probably want to keep it below that. No, they're his. They're not mine. They're his. Actually, all these whiteboards and stuff, Jim all provided all of these. He's been very helpful. Yeah, and you wouldn't want it too hot because the pumps too, Chris. I'm thinking about 100 degrees would be a good target range to hit. But I think you're going to get faster kinetics. You're going to be able to run long because, I mean, like right up till now, I had to shut down the mill several weeks ago because it just kept dropping below freezing. It wasn't constantly. Pinch your crayon. The dry erase markers that you write on these boards is what he was talking about, and not actual crayons, John. And those are Jim's, and he's not here tonight. So I have this beautiful board I could use and nothing to use it with. I don't know, Chris. I kept my hot tub at 108. I think 125 is a bit hot. Maybe you can handle it, but I think about 100 degrees would be safe.
Hot tub.
We're talking about heating the solution at the mill, because if we had the diesel engine running the hydraulic pumps for the what do you call it, for the mill, to it's got exhaust coming off of it, which is hot. If you just pump solution through metal tubing in that hot exhaust, you can heat your solution.
I understand that, and you said I kept my hot tub at 108.
Yeah, that was years ago, before you. That was Linda. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyhow, I'll forgo that, John. Thank you. That's what I was thinking, Wolfman, about 105. It used to be a little higher, and then they got even more, even more lawyers got involved, so it turned out to be 105. But yeah, I think 108 was about all I could handle. Chris must be as tough when it comes to heat as Jason from Flower Gold is when it comes to cold.
108 isn't that hot.
No, Chris was talking 125.
Yeah, that's too hot.
Yeah, I want something that I can immerse my hand in it for an indefinite period, and it's never going to be a problem. It's just inherently safe. So about 100 degrees. And if we had that capability, if we had solution at even say 80 degrees during the summer here, then we should be able to keep it at 45 degrees in freezing weather, where it's just dipping below freezing at night, and that would dramatically increase the season for leaching. Absolutely. And let's say you get it essentially for free. You just, let's say, run your solution through the exhaust heat. I don't know about that, John, but I know Mark Twain said, what do you call 10,000 lawyers on the bottom of the ocean? A good start. So I say that's a very good idea in the long run. Thanks for bringing that up. Again, it's when you have a bunch of different people thinking about something, you get a lot of different ideas. Looks like somebody's here. Oh.
And you're going to need to be able to read comments.
I'll do the best I can.
How's the eye?
It's doing okay.
Howdy, everybody.
By the way, for those who came in late, I had cataract surgery today.
Yeah, he had cataract surgery today. Eye surgery is like extremely gross, and it freaks me out. And it also meant I had to get up before sunrise.
That's the important thing.
This is not acceptable. The goddess is not pleased, okay?
That's the exact phrase I was thinking of this morning.
Yeah, the goddess is not pleased with that stuff. Oh, Johnny, I know about Linda. Believe me, I know about Linda.
Linda's dead.
Though Linda got a hot tub and I didn't. There's something funky about that. Howdy, Chris. Hi, Wolfman. Not too much tonight. YouTube has announced their new terms of service beginning in January. About changes in their community guidelines regarding misinformation on certain subjects. Mining isn't one of them yet. We're good there. Supply chains are not one of them yet. We're good there. Gold prices and where gold actually isn't one either. They concern certain aspects of medical procedures. And the big L word, not loser, the other L word. Good evening, Mr. Virtue. Yeah, I'm here and she's not, Terry. She's as not here as you can get. Yeah, more garbage YouTube regulations. That is correct, Adam. I am looking at Rumble. I'm looking at locals. I'm going against locals at the moment for a regular thing because it is a subscription paid service and we want to keep stuff free around here. Donations are one thing. Subscriptions are another. But I am looking at Rumble and we are going to be starting to post Bears videos in other places as well as YouTube. And we're going to look at some other options there. So, oh yeah, Insurance guys are pretty bad. As a matter of fact, we were discussing insurance today because Bear was reading his pre-surgery instructions, and it says that you're not allowed to take a cab or an Uber or a Lyft or anything like that home from surgery. You have to get a ride from a family member or you have to use licensed medical transport. This is an insurance and lobbyist thing for sure.
Yeah.
Haven't decided which company probably did that, but it was kind of bizarre. It resulted in me having to get up at dawn. Now, mind you, this surgery purportedly lasts only about 10 minutes. The appointment was at 8 in the morning. And yes, dawn here arrives about 7:30 these days. So I was up before dawn. Not a good thing by any stretch of the imagination.
Very dangerous.
So we get there, and Bear finally gets ushered to the back at about 11:30. Bear finally gets ushered out of the back with a Band-Aid over his eye at about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So yours truly is stuck in a waiting room with signs all over the place saying I'm not supposed to be there because I haven't had a certain set of inoculations that we don't discuss on YouTube. They never asked. I'll give them that. If they had asked, I would have waited out in the car for 5 hours or more. They didn't ask, thankfully. We're not going to go there. But a couple of ladies in the waiting room were making beautiful craft projects. So we had some nice conversation, Wolfman, I have no idea what's going on with the sound. I really don't. I never know what's going on with this technological stuff. But in the mining world, there's not terribly too much going on. The push for sustainability continues. They're trying to get mines to become sustainable, which is fine, great, and wonderful. And there is a continuing emphasis across mining that over the next 2 to 5 years, we're going to see a continuing bullish trend on not just the precious metals, but the critical metals and minerals, the rare earths and the coppers and the nickel. And in the middle of all that, MMG is going to shut down operations at Las Bambas copper mine by mid-December. Chinese miner MMG will end copper production from its Las Bambas mine in Peru by mid-December, following months-long road blockades that have prevented essential supplies from reaching the operations. The company, a unit of state-owned China Minmetals, said despite holding meetings with residents of Chumbivilcas community, it was unable to reach an agreement with them due to what is qualified as excessive commercial demands. Oh, commies don't like capitalism, that's right. At issue is a dirt road that Las Bambas uses to transport the copper from its mine to a seaport. Communities along the road asked for more logistics transport contracts, financial compensation for the land used to build the mining road, and actions to reduce alleged damage to their crops caused by the large number of trucks on the road every day. They also wanted to set a fund with 8% of the mine's annual profits to finance productive and social development projects, while the company offered financing for individual social projects. MMG believes it's the government's responsibility to pave the route, but a long-term solution would be building a separate freight train link. Construction of the railway would take more than 5 years and cost $9.2 billion, according to Peru's Transport and Communications Ministry. Las Bambas, Peru's 4th largest copper mine and the world's 9th largest copper mine, wow, big one, has grappled with on and off protests and road blockades since the operation's 2015-2016 ramp-up. Operations at the mine were disrupted for more than 100 days in 2019, with 70 communities along the 450-kilometer road to the port of Matarani demanding action from MMG and the national government over emissions from trucks and reduction of their farmlands. A 3-week-long roadblock protest staged at the end of 2020 prevented MMG from exporting 189,000 tons of copper concentrate worth $530 million from the mine. More interruptions in September this year forced the company to halt operations for a few days. The company agreed in early October to integrate the communities into its value chain, though they're not within the asset's area of influence. Overall, operations at Las Bambas have been disrupted for close to 400 days since 2016, according to company estimates. With a production capacity of 400,000 tons of copper a year and significant quantities of gold and silver, or some 2% of the total global primary output, the mine brought in about 69% of MMG's revenue in 2020. In July, Las Bambas flagged the production in 2021 was expected in the low end of its 310,000 to 330,000 ton forecast. With a rosy demand outlook amid the transition to green energy, attention to copper markets has shifted to the supply picture where gaps have opened up. Former Glencore CEO Ivan Glassenberg said in June copper supplies need to increase by 1 million tons a year until 2050 to meet the expected demand. The Swiss commodities trader and the world's number 4 miner was strong-armed into selling Las Bambas to a Chinese consortium in 2014. Wow, karma. After Beijing made the disposal conditional to its approval of the Glencore-Exastra merger. Glencore used the proceeds of the $6.2 billion cash deal to shrink its considerable debt pile at the time. On Friday, prices did not react to the news, with futures trading in New York down on the day. March delivery contracts were exchanging hands for $4.28 a pound and $9,435 a ton by midday, a decline of 5% compared to the previous Friday. Copper prices hit all-time highs of more than $10,000 a ton in May of this year. So yeah, basically, when it comes to metals and mining, we're looking at an interesting intersectional thing going on, at least here in the United States, because on one hand, we have, shall we say, a current regime in power that considers mining to be very, very bad, almost as bad as certain orange men whose name we don't mention on YouTube either. We have a regime that considers mining to be a very, very bad thing. We have a BLM that is being run by a former eco-terrorist, who, by the way, still has active ties to eco-terrorists. Not that this is surprising to anyone, considering the Malarkey administration has very, very good taste in destructive members. I mean, they're really good at picking the worst of the worst. They really are. But at the same time, we have a push for green energy and a push for other things that will necessitate a massive ramp up in mining. The problem we're having is that ramp up is not happening here and now because of external government factors. It's happening elsewhere. And I have said before, and I will say again, it's a really, really bad idea to depend on foreign actors for any aspect of critical infrastructure. Because just because somebody is your friend today or they're being nice today does not mean they will be your friend or will be nice tomorrow. And some of these people were never our friends in the first place. So, yeah, I'm not shedding any tears that China is losing a massive amount of money because they're closing down that copper mine in Peru. I am upset for the people in Peru that are going to lose their share of that money. But anything that inconveniences Pandaland at the moment kind of makes me happy. They're not people that I like right now.
The weaker they are, the safer we are.
Exactly. But that is the biggest thing I saw in the mining news this week. As Bear said, we do have some people out there that are predicting absolutely ridiculous amounts for gold. But some weird stuff happened in crypto this week that we're going to take a look at, just because Kitco happens to have it, and I'm interested in the idea. So Bitcoin and Ethereum prices stabilized after a $480 billion crypto weekend wipeout. Well, color me totally unsurprised. This is what happens when you deal with something that only exists as zeros and ones here, okay? The crypto market seems to have stabilized after erasing $480 billion during the weekend liquidation. By Monday afternoon, both Bitcoin and Ethereum were back to trading in positive territory after major corrections that began Friday and accelerated into Saturday. At the time of writing, Bitcoin was trading at $49,278.38, up 0.63% on the day, and Ethereum was at $4,296.21, up 4.07% on the day. I really have to find that Ethereum wallet of mine
I
again.
was wondering about that.
Yeah. Looking at the technical charts, Ethereum recovered most of the weekend losses, while Bitcoin just managed to stabilize and was yet to pare back gains. During the morning hours on Saturday, Bitcoin tumbled 20% in 1 hour and at one point traded below 47,000. Ethereum also tumbled to below 4,000. This crypto volatility came after a turbulent week in the U.S. stock market. This liquidation saw crypto's overall market cap drop from 2.8 trillion to 2.3 trillion. Less than a month ago, Bitcoin was trading at a new all-time high of $69,000 per token as the overall crypto market cap reached the $3 trillion mark. The pullback in the crypto space could be connected to a larger move away from riskier assets that traders saw play out in the equities space during the previous week. It's hard to go past crypto given the monster moves seen on Saturday. Our flow was centered on Bitcoin and Ethereum, and it certainly came alive. Perhaps not surprising in a 20.3% high-low range, the third 20% daily range this year. See, this is the thing about cryptos. Mind you, I like them. When I can get a hold of them really cheap or free, I am very happy with them. And I think the idea has some merit in the case of things like Ethereum, where it can actually be tied to a physical commodity, where it can be used for smart contracts or things like that. Okay? I mean, that is great. But what you see with a lot of crypto and tokens and meme coins like Dogecoin, you see a lot of this pump and dump. You see people going in and buying and seeing the price going up, and then you see the big players dumping and collecting a lot of profits. Fine. I just happen to like things a little less volatile myself, you know? Calm has descended on the space after the fireworks, though, but if anyone needed convincing crypto is an incredible trading vehicle, then this move reminded us. If you like the movement, have a grip on position size, and are happy to trade long and short, then this is one where the movement for the cost is comparable to your EUR USD and spot crude. While Ethereum has recovered, Bitcoin still looks vulnerable below the $50,000 level, said Oanda senior market analyst Craig Earlham. Whatever the cause of the flash crash, it hasn't managed to fully reverse the losses and remains below 50,000. That could leave it vulnerable in the near term, especially with it struggling to track other risk instruments higher on the day. Bad news on Omicron could really put it under pressure, according to Earlham. Weston said he likes the Ether trade as the world's second largest cryptocurrency gets back above 4,000. Ethereum gets my attention with price coming back into the 4,800 to 4,000 range. I like this into 4,400, potentially square and reverse on a close through 4,000. Position sizing would need to be minimal given the volume. Another positive news for Ethereum on Monday was the launch of mini Ether futures by the CME Group. Many crypto supporters have used this sell-off as an opportunity to buy the dip, including El Salvador. El Salvador's president, Nayib Bukele, tweeted his country bought an additional 150 bitcoins during the sell-off. Wow, good for them. Since making Bitcoin legal tender, El Salvador bought 1,370 bitcoins. El Salvador just bought the dip. Woo! Actually, that is really good for them. Congratulations. Bukele also got into a Twitter standoff with Peter Schiff, chief economist and global strategist for Euro-Pacific Capital, about the role of gold and Bitcoin in the country's treasury reserves. We're already in the green from our last purchase in less than 24 hours. You know, boomer, we have 44,106 ounces of gold in our reserves, worth $79 million, down 0.37% from a year ago. If we had sold it a year ago and bought Bitcoin, it would now be valued at $204 million. He called Peter Schiff a boomer. I like this guy. I really do. This exchange was triggered by Schiff's reply to Bukele's buying the dip tweet. There's a lot more dips coming. How much taxpayer money do you intend to waste? Ew. Naughty, naughty. You know, but that is interesting that he called him boomer. That it is. I like having the leader of a country that can put out zingers like that. It seems we used to have one of those. Oh, maybe that was just a dream on my part, but I seem to remember us having a president or two that were capable of snappy comebacks. My. Such is life. We may never be that lucky again, that's for sure. Now, there is some news in hedge funds. Hedge funds are ditching bullish gold bets as the Feds face rising inflation threats. It seems the Feds, by the way, have officially abandoned the transitory inflation language. It just kind of got memory hold. All kinds of things get memory hold these days. Hedge funds and money managers continue to liquidate their bullish gold bets as the Federal Reserve looks to fight the growing inflation threat. Wow, it's only a threat right now. I wonder when it's going to become actual. We'll get to that in a minute. By tightening monetary policy faster than expected. According to the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, bullish speculative interest in gold has fallen to a 1-month low as prices are unable to hold gains above $1,800 an ounce. The CFTC disaggregated commitments of traders report for the week ending November 30 showed money managers reducing their speculative gross long positions in COMEX gold futures by 14,804 contracts to 137,469. At the same time, short positions dropped by 1,550 contracts to 45,384. Gold's net length positioning is now at 92,085 contracts, down 12.5% from the previous week. The gold market was relatively volatile during the survey period as prices briefly pushed above $1,800 an ounce but could not withstand the new selling pressure. Nikki Shields, head of metal strategy.
Who's selling?
Hedge funds.
Hmm.
For anybody who missed the news, you might want to go out and look up a New Scientist article from a long time ago about the 147 companies that control all of the world's money. The top 47 are hedge funds. So these are the people that are a real issue here, okay? Nikki Shields, head of Metal Strategies MKS PAMP Group, said the gold market had seen 5 million ounces of outflows in the last 2 weeks. The last time longs had such little staying power was February 2020 when positioning was near the highs and they smartly sold early ahead of COVID, she said in a report Monday. Shields added gold investors are also fleeing gold-backed exchange-traded products. Well, anybody in their right mind would do that, along with long liquidation in CME futures. The past 2 days have printed outflows of 125,000 ounces and 200,000 ounces, adding some apprehension to any bullish views, especially into year-end when holdings are relatively more fickle. Okay. Ole Hansen, head of commodity strategy at Saxo Bank, noted gold is failing to attract any bullish attention as rising inflation is raising expectations markets will raise interest rates more aggressively next year. Not only do markets expect the Federal Reserve to start tightening interest rates by June, but they see 4 rate hikes coming next year, according to the latest data from the CME FedWatch tool. 4 hikes. Wasn't too long ago they were saying 2. I'm betting it's going to go over 4. However, not all analysts are giving up on gold. Commodity analysts at TD Securities noted the market's expectations for rate hikes next year are overdone, which could be positive for gold prices. With both an accelerated taper and more than 3 rate hikes priced in for 2022, the balance of risk for gold positioning is shifting to the upside. CTA short covering could ultimately catalyze higher gold prices should prices break north of $1,795 an ounce. While gold cannot attract bullish investors' attention, the silver market appears to be in a little worse shape as hedge funds lower their overall exposure to the precious metal. Good. the less attention they pay to silver, the better I like it. That means we may actually be able to get our hands on some. That would be nice. So, in terms of this whole inflation thing, these are not the first people I've seen that are talking 4 rate hikes, 3 or 4 rate hikes being priced in for 2022 in terms of inflation and interest rates. It should also be noted that some financial experts this week are beginning to make noises that the inflation, if there actually is inflation, if the threat of inflation materializes, that it's going to last into 2023. They're taking a very rosy view on this. They really are. They're just a totally rosy view, considering the state of our supply chain, the state of the regime's regulatory environment, the state of our energy sector, and a few other things. This is a rosy view. For anybody that happens to farm or is interested in fertilizer, you might find it interesting to know that the largest fertilizer company in Romania is shutting down operations due to the price of natural gas. That's going to wipe out 50% of their available fertilizer for the entire country. And we are also seeing shortages across the board in a lot of the materials that go into fertilizers that we use here. And longer and longer wait times and longer back order times for fertilizer for next year's crops. So, if nothing else, perhaps this will start moving people more toward regenerative agriculture, because it's very difficult to grow the monoculture crops that our grain-based and carb-based food pyramid relies on without these industrial chemical fertilizers. And a lot of them are made out of natural gas. So just something to keep in mind here. If you happen to be one of these people that likes to grow things, it might be a good idea to have a compost pile, some vermiculture going on, and see if you can get a hold of some cow poop. Because poop of all kinds, and this does include human, there are YouTube videos out there on humanure, is a much better bet for your soil, and at least it's something that you can get your hands on if nothing else works. The shipping crisis continues. It is symptomatic of our media that in order to see what's actually going on with shipping, you either have to dig through about 5 pages of Google results looking for a relevant link that is not parroting the current party line, or you have to go to foreign sources, in this case, the Daily Mail. Because the Daily Mail pointed out something that we all knew about a couple of weeks ago when they said the number of ships off LA has dropped by 40%. Score for the administration. The administration, by the way, was also touting a 2-cent 3-day drop in gasoline prices as a victory. So, well, that 40% drop in ships off the coast of LA was a case of the ships being moved over the horizon because climate change. Well, technically because the pollution, etc. So the ships actually moved over the horizon. And as of today, we went from the 94 we had last week up to, if you include the ones in port, like 117 ships. The current dwell time at some of these warehouses for shipping containers is now running around 19 days. And bear in mind that some of the ships that are currently over the horizon have actually been over the horizon for about 2.5 months. Personally, I'd really hate to be one of the crew on one of those ships because some of those people haven't been off those ships in 2 years now. But, I mean, who are we to say anything? Gizmodo was very upset about this shipping backlog because, as they said, this cargo is really not green at all because our shipping accounts for 2.2% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. In fact, one of these cargo super container ships apparently produces as much pollution idling over the horizon for several months as 50 million automobiles. I didn't even want to try to check their math, but I'd say their math is probably a little bit hyperbolic here.
I'm thinking.
I'm thinking it's a little hyperbolic. But the point is still there that the Port of LA is claiming the backlog has been cut by 40%. The city of LA is claiming the backlog has been cut by 40%. The regime is claiming that the backlog has been cut by 40% and calling this a huge victory. And absolutely none of that is actually factual information.
Sure.
It's just baffling. It really is. It is baffling to see this level of spin. Spin, that's a good word. If they start spinning any faster, they will turn into neutron stars. It's just really, really baffling. Speaking of whom, you may have heard, it is official. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she of the crazy eyes and buck teeth, has declared that all those videos of smash and grab organized robberies that are happening in various parts of California and everywhere are fake news. No, they're not happening. There's simply no data to support that this is happening. This is just GOP scaremongering, etc. And nah.
But the White House says it's caused by COVID.
Well, yeah, the White House says it's caused by COVID, but everything for the next 500 years is going to be caused by COVID. So, in a rare fit of rebellion, several of the retail companies that have been involved in these organized theft incursions in the last
They were
week or
victimized, not
so,
involved.
well, involuntarily involved.
There
okay?
you go.
We're nice enough to present to Ms. Cortez the data on the millions and millions of dollars of organized theft that they're already experiencing. She has risen above the fray and is entirely ignoring their input on the issue. But yeah, just so you know, the smash and grabs that the videos have been all over YouTube on, they simply, no. They're isolated incidents. They're nothing significant. They mean nothing, and they're probably a GOP plot. So,
Must
as
be white
usual.
supremacists. White supremacists.
Well, yeah, those two. That's a given there. Yeah, I know that what they burn for fuel in those ships is pretty darn nasty. I'm wondering how accurate that 50 million car comparison is to a ship that's at idle cruising around in the Pacific for 2.5 months or so. I mean, I'm not disputing. These things make a heck of a lot of pollution. As a matter of fact, most of the plastic pollution that is found in the ocean comes from those ships, from them dumping trash, and from China, as opposed to here. You know? Yeah, the thing about the chain shortage. The chain shortage is coming up again. For those who have missed it, we have a chain shortage where we are, at least. Oh, and also a cream cheese shortage. Just so you know, don't try to find any really high dollar cream cheese in about 12 different parts of the country because good cream cheese has apparently disappeared. And
Is that
low
like
fat cream
Philadelphia?
cheese. No, we're talking, well, Philadelphia, Breakstones, Tillamook, several store brands. Cream cheese is at a shortage right now. New York is having a cream cheese shortage.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. That's scary, scary stuff, you know. But yes, there is once again a change shortage. I do not believe in change shortages at all. Period. End of story. But if you happen to have change hanging around your house and you want to help out the cause on that, start paying with exact change, because this is all part and parcel of the push to get us away from real money, as far as I'm concerned. Now, there are some people who may say that, the tinfoil hat goddess is too far out on this one. But no, it is getting too darn convenient how difficult they are making it to use cash, and how difficult they're making it to use the actual amount of cash. I mean, they're now talking about rounding up purchases. And it's like, no, if you're going to round, you round down, as far as I'm concerned. Some people are hoarding coins, Ed. I know we have a quart Ziploc bag of them that has to go to the bank or down to Winco pretty soon. But cool, Chris. I will take a look at that link later. But yeah, I mean, it is a very good idea when you can to start using cash and paying change, and paying exact change, because there's too many coincidences going on here in terms of banks making it impossible, for instance, in some ATM machines to deposit cash anymore, in terms of some stores making it very difficult to use cash because COVID. I've actually seen this excuse that cash is dirty, therefore we want you to use your touchless debit cards, and putative change shortages, which should not be occurring. There are some legitimate excuses, I think, maybe for a change shortage, but if those excuses are real, then our metals supply chain is far more broken than anybody is even beginning to admit to, because there is no reason why they cannot produce coins. There simply is no reason, with the numbers that everybody agrees on in terms of how bad or how much or how little metal is running around. It's not like they don't have it. So, there's got to be a better reason for this one here. Cash is absolutely the thing. And I love $2 bills, Mr. Virtue. $2 bills are my favorite. They really are, but they're getting harder and harder to find these days. And it never fails. Every time I've got a nice little stash of them, some crazy emergency comes up that we absolutely need money for. So it's like, well, there go my $2 bills again. That's just the way it is. Yeah, nobody complained about the cocaine on money, Terry. Nobody complained about acid on money. I don't know if anybody remembers that urban legend that was going around. But there was urban legends going around for a while about drugs like ecstasy and acid that could supposedly be absorbed through the skin. I don't know how much of it can be. I don't know to what limit. But I do know that some drugs do permeate the skin. And for a while, there were urban legends going around that if your children got money on Halloween, you shouldn't let them handle it because the drug dealers had sprayed it with some of the drugs, and then your children would get hooked. This was for a very short-lived period of time between the phases of razor blades and apples that we all remember, and the comic cookies that we all remember.
Wouldn't be surprised, Johnny.
Yeah, I believe there is a currency reset coming. A lot of people are beginning to get worried about bank bail-ins, and frankly, a bank bail-in would not surprise me with this current crop of yo-yos that we have in Washington, D.C. Speaking of which, if you haven't seen the White House Christmas decorations this year, I highly suggest you skip them, because I swear, Target does a better job. And I dislike Target, okay? But Target does a better job than we have in Washington, D.C. this year. It's really, really pitiful. You know? Yeah, hash brownies. But at any rate, people, the supply chain shortages are continuing. The supply chain is going to continue to be screwed up until at least 2023 through 2024. It could get worse if we have more of those L word thingies due to more of those pervasive illnesses that are panda related. And yeah, it would not surprise me if there is some nefarious plot afoot to get us to use less and less cash, because cash is still the one thing other than direct barter that the government finds it very hard to keep an eye on. And if they can't keep an eye on it, they have trouble taxing it. And that's where all this is going. So that is where we are. And I will see you guys next week. So y'all talk to my bear. And bye-bye.
Oh, dearie. Oh, I won't say that, Smoking.
What? Yeah. Well, if you mean linda as in beautiful en español, I may accept this.
Okay, everyone's thanking you. Okay, my eye's getting a little bit sore here, so I'll probably another half hour or something like that. So, first of all, are there any questions we need to answer? If not, I'll kind of reiterate a few things and show the rock samples from earlier again. Okay, so winter has pretty well closed in. It's currently says 26 degrees outside with probably about an inch and a half of snow.
Totally our imagination.
And probably not going to be out mining again this year. So it's going to be months. Luckily, we got enough ore in the last month or so that we should have plenty for testing various crushing and grinding circuits. And so we have a lot of R&D to do on terms of increasing mill throughput. My impact mill, while it does a fine job at 125 pounds an hour, is a little bit small for what we need to do to really make some money. We have a 2 ton per hour Stutenroth mill that already on hand. So we'll see if we can work out a good classification system for it. And we've got a big jaw crusher we need to get powered up. That beast, I bet you it would eat 50 tons an hour. But anyhow, so all that, of course, is going to be on videos. Tomorrow I plan to do a drill test where I'm seeing people suggested cooling drill bits to make them last longer. We'll see how that works. I got a big chunk of kryptonite to play games with. Also have a different high quality bit from Sierra Blaster to test out, see how it works. And you really didn't see too much. I haven't done a whole lot of video of me using the demolition hammers yet, because hello, Shogun. It's a little hard to video in there. If you notice this time, I mean, Eva was sitting on the ladder track. Yeah, but the problem with that is, Roberts, it's real expensive to move ore. So we've done everything we need to do besides just move more ore, and I think we have enough ore to do the testing we're going to need this winter. But anyhow, so it's basically just theoretically closed up for the winter. The boss, the claim owner may go out there with his son 1 or 2 times before it shuts down and gets some more ore, but that's up to them. Let me show you. I presume most of you have seen the videos recently, and so let me show you what some of this stuff looks like. Now, this is the limonite type ore. This is that brown stuff, about 1.5 foot wide streak of brown. This is kind of what it looks like, and it transitions at times. This looks similar, but this area right here has more, it's a higher silica content. And where are we at? Here, you can't tell because, density is not something you can see, but this has layers of high silica material in it, little veinlets. And the veinlets can get up to fairly good size. Now, this is what I would call kryptonite here. And this is very dense, low porosity silica. Although, let me check and see something real quick here. Let's see how porous it is. Yeah, it's not soaking in. But anyhow, as I was hand sorting out there at the ranch, I found that a lot of the limonite looking material had a lot of quartz in it at times, and it would have these little microcrystals everywhere. It'd be like sparkly from the crystals. So that may be a good indication of silica content. Up till now, the few samples we have, this stuff is about half the grade of this stuff, but we don't have good statistics at this point. You can also get an almost black looking porous material. Now, in this camera, that looks a lot browner than it does to the naked eye. Okay, you'll have to trust me on that. It's interesting sometimes what the camera can see that you can't, or vice versa. But this seems to be basically the ore. We did do a little testing, and you'll notice this looks different. It doesn't have that porous look. This is more like fractured wall rock that's been kind of altered or coated or something like that. And this would be similar to what you'd find on either that little black zone to the left of the limonite or the wall rock itself. And the wall rock assayed less than 1/10 of an ounce to the ton, and the black zone was less than 2/10 of an ounce to the ton. So where we tend to get some blend, we're not going to, if we have to get some of the black to get all of the limonite, we'll take it. But if not, it'll tend to go to the dump. And that's the evil plan there. Now, the walls also, I had to shave them back a little bit to get the width I needed for the ladder track and the carriage to go down. And the little baby Hilti wasn't having too much trouble tearing it up, which is concerning. Those walls look really solid, but they're pretty badly fragmented. And so we're probably going to put in some platforms and some wire mesh to prevent getting our heads bashed in later once we get a lot deeper. If this is the top of the stope, or the decline basically, it has an arched back for stability, which is good. We'll probably put stalls, or basically posts, across. And first we'll put some pins in, hang some chain link fencing down, then wedge the stalls in and pin those in place. And then put platforms on top of the stalls so that anything that falls off of that arch will hit the platform and not come down. This is the current decline angle. This is what we're shooting for. It's about 50 tons of rock in this wedge here. But as you can see, right here, which currently is only a few feet overhead, before it's all over, is going to be 30 or 40 feet overhead. And that would be really unpleasant. So we're going to have to design the ground support for that. Ladder track, I don't think it should be in anything longer than 5 or 6 foot increments, because it'll just make it a lot easier and safer to install. The bottom pieces are like going to be 2 foot chunks. So you can go down 2 feet, add 2 feet like that until you have a decent amount, and then like put in a 6 footer. But anyhow, so that's what we're doing there. Got lots of tests to run, getting the gold out of the resin, testing other resins, et cetera, et cetera. So we got lots of fun stuff coming up over this winter, but it's not going to be nearly as much out in the field, more lab work and shop. So that's the basic plan. I had cataract surgery today. The eye's starting to get a little sore. So unless somebody has some questions here, I think we'll call it a night, since Jim bailed just because he had family in. Yeah, that was pretty funny, Pat. When I hit kryptonite that I can't take out, I was close to using the Sierra Blaster this last trip. If the kryptonite hadn't been so close to the bottom of a post that I needed for support, I would have probably done it just for the heck of it. But unfortunately, it was a pretty marginal situation there. Did I get your email? Was that tonight, Adam? Let's see. I've been getting a lot of stuff lately. So let's see what happens here. Yes, I got your email there, Adam. Okay, I'll take a look at it. Let me mark that as unread again. Okie dokie. Yeah, I think I will here. I don't have surgery tomorrow yet. I had it today. Yeah. So, yeah, the lens in this eye was replaced today. Thank you, Jeff. And if it wasn't for winter, you couldn't get the hard work done. I don't know about the hard work, but the maintenance would tend to suffer, I think. I doubt it, Johnny. I don't think he got one this year. My email address is hardrocku@outlook.com. Okay. So that's the email address there. Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah, Keith, it'll be fine. No, I haven't, Roberts, but that I go to the local optometrist. This guy is a surgeon, comes in from out of town. I go to the regular optometrist for the follow up, and I got that tomorrow afternoon. And yeah, mining is fun, maintenance is not. Yes, I would agree with that. You're welcome, Johnny. Yeah, Eva really, she really suffered this morning getting up before dawn. Yep.
The goddess is not amused.
Is not pleased is the phrase I was thinking. But anyhow, so does anyone have any questions or anything before we call it a night then? Yeah, we got lots of calculations and analysis to do, some research to do, some tweaking to do. Exactly.
Tweak.
Good night, Jeff. So I said there'll be lots to do. I got at least 2 or 3 months worth of work, and I'm sure I'll come up with another month or two before it's all over. So shouldn't be a problem. Thank you, Terry. And say hopefully within 2 weeks we'll have a darn good idea on the what do you call it? The resin, getting the gold out of it. Thank you, Pat. You're welcome, Mr. Virtue. Thank you all for being here. We had quite a group this week. There was times it was up to almost 40.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, Kevin, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'd love to be back out there at Montana Bee this week, but I'm just going to do the right thing. Take it easy, not risk a fall or anything like that. And let's say then next week I got the other eye to do, so I'm going to be pretty easy. What do you call that? Light duty for the next couple weeks. All righty. Well, you guys take care. Terry's saying night to you.
Good night, everybody.
I bet she'd like to tuck you in.
Bad.
Anyhow.
Cashing asparagus on people again.
Yeah. You take care, everybody, and happy prospecting, and keep it safe out there, and I will take care of myself as the best I can. Terry says, I'm tuckable. Oh, he wants you to tuck him in. Oh, okay. Yeah, just keep it tucked in, Terry. You take care, everybody. Good night, all.